Hi dear friends, good morning to one and all. Dear friends, in the last part of the video, we have started the discussion of electromagnetic spectrum and we came to know that in the electromagnetic spectrum, all electromagnetic radiations are arranged on the basis of their increasing frequency or decreasing wavelength. Dear friends, if you will look at the electromagnetic spectrum, then there are different types of the electromagnetic radiations present in the electromagnetic spectrum like gamma rays, X rays, UV light, visible light. And in the last part of the video, we discussed about different types of electromagnetic radiation present in the electromagnetic spectrum. Dear friends, in this part of the video, now we are going to talk about the remaining types of or the remaining part of the electromagnetic spectrum, which consists of the various electromagnetic radiation, and one of them is simply visible light. Dear friend, this type of the radiation is very important, because of which we are able to see the objects in the universe, in the nature. We are able to see, we are able to read only because of this light. If you look at the electromagnetic spectrum, then this visible light in the electromagnetic spectrum occupy the region from 400 nanometer to 750 nanometer. Dear friends, in some books you may find this as a 780 nanometer or 800 nanometer. So this is the thing. So this region extends from 400 nanometer to 750 nanometer or 800 nanometer. If you will look towards this visible light, then you will come to that this visible light is a narrow band of wavelength band of wavelength present in between infrared radiations and the ultraviolet radiation. So this is the reason between IR radiations and ultraviolet radiation in the electromagnetic spectrum. These radiations are very important because our eyes are sensitive to this visible light or the visible radiation, due to which we are able to see, means human can see anything or everything because of only this light. This visible light is emitted by means of an sun, and the Isaac Newton showed that, or he has shown that light shining through the prism will be separated into different wavelengths, and this phenomenon is called like the dispersion of light. So this dispersion of light is only shown by means of invisible light, and it is shown by means of an Isaac Newton. This is the important regarding. If we talk about the different uses of this visible light in our day-to-day life, definitely this visible light is also having too much important uses in our day-to-day life. This is the dear friends, this is one of the thing that we all are using in our day-to-day life also, that is photography. Nowadays we are taking so many photographs by using different devices, either mobile phones or the whatever, or the camera. But here the thing is that in that photography, the whatever photographs that we are getting, this photography is uses a light, and that light is visible light. Means that we are able to take photographs only because of this light. Just you can think, if that is without this light, that is, if this light will not exist, then how will be the condition of photography? Definitely photography will not be possible, and without this light. So this light is very important, not only photography, but from the view of other uses also. Dear friends, if you look at the another use of this visible light or the visible radiation, that already I told you, we peoples are able to see, we peoples are able to read everything only because of this light, that we call it as the visible light. It means that how much it is important. So here, though, that is, it means that our eyes are having the importance only because of this light. Because the eyes cannot work without visible light, it means that the existence of visible light in nature is too much important for the human being. In addition to this, dear friends, if you look at the other uses, then in quantitative analysis, there are some metals which gives colored ions or the color compounds, and that can be easily estimated as these are responsible to absorb the visible light. Because in the quantitative analysis, the whatever metals are there which gives the color ions or the color compounds can be easily estimated, because these ions are responsible to absorb the visible light. Again, dear friend, there is one natural process that takes place in the plants that we call it as the photosynthesis, because of which the plants are able to form the carbohydrate, and this carbohydrate used by the animals or the human being as their food. So this process takes place only because of the sunlight, particularly visible light. So this is the important uses of this visible light, which is one of the reason in the electromagnetic spectrum. If we will look at other electromagnetic radiation, the next one is the infrared radiation, which is also called as the IR radiation. The region occupied by means of an IR radiation in the electromagnetic spectrum is from 780 nanometer to 10 raised to 5 nanometer. So this is the values in which the region IR extends from 780 nanometer to 10 raised to 5 nanometers. So dear friends, this is another important electromagnetic radiation in which is present in the electromagnetic spectrum. This infrared radiations has a longer wavelength and lower energy than the visible light. It means that if we will compare this visible IR radiation with the visible light, then the IR radiation having longer wavelength, the greater value of wavelength, and the lower frequency or the energy than the visible light. If we look at the different parts of the IR radiations or the IR region, then you will come to that the region extends from 780 nanometer to 10 raised to 3 nanometer is called as the near infrared region, and the region which extends from 10 raised to 3 to 10 raised to 4 nanometer is simply called as the infrared region, and the region which extends from 10 raised to 4 nanometer to 10 raised to 5 nanometer is called as far infrared region. So there are three sub regions in the infrared regions or the infrared radiations based upon the values of their wavelength. If we will look at the other aspects of this infrared radiations, then definitely we will come to this Sir William Herschel, who was the astronomer, discovered infrared light or the radiation in 1800, and infrared term initially was appeared in late 19th century. They were simply called as calorific rays. So before the discovery or the appearance of this term, the IR radiations were simply called as calorific rays, and it is found that 80% of the sun rays fall in the IR region. So this is also important, and these infrared radiations are successfully detected from the planets Jupiter, Saturn, and some bright stars. So this is the regarding with the existence of this infrared region. As far as concerned with the different uses of IR radiations, then you will come to know about these uses as IR telescope used in the discovery of rings of Uranus in the 1977. So this was the first use of this IR based telescope in the discovery of rings of Uranus. These are also used in the other purposes, and just like the photography based upon the visible light, this IR photography is also used to detect the tumors in the body. IR transmitters can be also used in remote controls of our TV set. This is very familiar to you all because we all are using the remote controls for of our TV sets, and in that the whatever transmitters are there, that transmitters are using the infrared radiations. Again, there is one animal, actually particularly snake, pit viper snake has the infrared vision, and due to which it can catch the fire, it can catch its prey in the dark also, means in the night also. So here the next electromagnetic radiation present in the electromagnetic spectrum is called as micro radiation. These are also very important radiations, and these are particularly used in our day-to-day life also, particularly in the kitchen, for the cooking purposes or the other also. The region occupied by means of an micro radiation is from 1 millimeter to 1 meter. So this is the region of electromagnetic spectrum occupied by means of a micro radiation, and the region occupied by this micro radiation is from 1 millimeter to 1 meter. If we'll talk about the other characteristic of this micro radiation, then you will come to know these micro radiations are non-ionizing radiations. This can very easily or readily pass through the earth atmosphere. Actually, this is very important radiation, and which were first produced by Mr. James Maxwell in 1865, and the Sir William Thomson led the invention of wireless communication based on this micro radiations. So this wireless communication was led by the Sir William Thomson, in which he had used the micro radiations. As far as concerned with the different uses of this micro radiation, yeah, these are the important use. Actually, this is very familiar and too much important for each individual who are using mobile phone, because in the mobile phone the whatever network is there, that network uses the micro frequencies. It means it uses the micro radiation. So without micro frequency, definitely our mobile phones are will be our mobile phones will be without network, means this is meaningless. So here other uses of this micro radiation is, these are used in the radar actually. So this radar involves the use of micro radiation, which are used to detect the range, speed, and also the characteristic of the different objects. And whenever this is very important use from the purpose of security in the defense, and this radar system uses the micro radiations. Again, these micro radiations can be also used for the cooking purpose in the fire. These are used in the micro oven. We are using the micro oven in the kitchen, and in the micro oven, the whatever radiations are there, that radiations are micro radiations. Again, these micro radiations are also helpful to study the structure of nearby galaxy. So yeah, this is also having much more important use from the view of astronomy, and these are used to study the structure of nearby galaxy. So these are the some uses of micro radiation. In addition to the micro radiation, the another type of the electromagnetic radiation present in the electromagnetic spectrum is called as radio waves. Dear friends, this is very important radiation in the particularly in the radio in the field of radio signal. Before this, we look at the different aspect of these radio waves. Then you will come to know the region of the electromagnetic spectrum occupied by radio waves is from 100 meter to more than kilometer. So this is very important. So it has very long range in the electromagnetic spectrum, and the radio waves are having the lowest frequency and the longest wavelength. So this is because in the electromagnetic spectrum, all the radiations are arranged on the basis of increasing wavelength or decreasing frequency and the energy. So here, that's why these radio waves are having the longest value of wavelength. It means it will have the very large value of wavelength, and the lowest value of frequency means very small value of frequency. And these radio waves are called as the long waves if their wavelength is longer than the kilometer. It's very important. If their wavelength is more than the kilometer, then these radio waves are called as long waves. Instead of this, if the radio waves is having the wavelength between 100 meter to 1000 meter, then the radio waves are called as the medium waves, and instead of this, if the wavelength of radio waves is less than 100 meter, then that radio waves will be called like the short wave. So there are three types of the radio waves, as long waves, medium waves, and the short waves, based upon their values of wavelength. Other features of the character or the information of these radio waves is that if we'll talk about the discovery of this radio waves, then this radio waves first predicted by means of a mathematical work done by the Scottish mathematical physicist James Clerk Maxwell. He has given some mathematical equation, mathematical work. With the help of this, it was first predicted. And in the 1887, German scientist Heinrich Hertz proved the actual existence of the radio waves by using some electrical circuits calculated to produce the oscillation much lower frequency than that of the visible light. And it is also observed that the naturally occurring radio waves are made by means of an lightning. So this lightning is observed by us many times during the rainy season, and that lightning is responsible for the emission of radio waves. So this naturally occurring radio waves are made by the lightning, and these radio waves are emitted by means of an ultimate source of energy that we call it as sun. So these are also emitted by the sun. If we talk about the different uses of these radio waves, then the most use of these radio waves is in television. So television uses many times different radio signals to transmit the particular channel, because we are having the number of channels in our television set, and each channel is having the different frequency. And for that purpose, in order to transmit the particular channel, these radio waves are used with the different radio signals. These radio waves are also used in the Wi-Fi. So we are sharing the Wi-Fi many times, and Wi-Fi uses the radio waves to transmit and to receive the information of the data. In radio transmission also, the remote control device like toys, garage doors, openers uses the radio waves, and these are also used in medical diathermy machines. So these are some important uses of this radio waves in our day-to-day life. And definitely, because without this electromagnetic radiation, it's very difficult to survive. So definitely these are very helpful for the living of the organism, for the living of the animals, or I will say the living of the existence of the human being. And dear friends, in this way we have completed the discussion about all electromagnetic radiations present in the electromagnetic spectrum, with their uses as well as characteristic and the discovery also. So dear friends, in this way we have completed the discussion on, or discussion about, the electromagnetic spectrum consists of various electromagnetic radiation based on their wavelength of the frequency. So dear friends, in the next part of the video, we would like to discuss the interaction between electromagnetic radiation and the matter, in which we will discuss about the different phenomenon observed whenever the electromagnetic radiation interact with the matter. So we will resume in the next part of the video to discuss about the interaction between electromagnetic radiation and the matter. Thank you very much.